Hello, and thanks so much for joining me here for today's episode of Storytime. Today's story is from my collection, Peripheral Visions and Other Stories, and it's called Going Home. Can you tell me, please, which way to Union Station? No one answered her. No one stopped to point out the streets to take, the buses to board. They looked right through her. She didn't exist, not for them. Sara should have been used to it. 2 years on the streets of LA had provided her with an education she had not expected. And the first lesson was, you are invisible. Unfortunately, however, she was never invisible to her mother. She could see everything. Except she never saw Sara leaving, although the signs were there, like itineraries scattered around the room. The drinking, the drugs, what else were they but a form of escape? From what, Sara didn't really know. And although she did get away, the need for escape wasn't really satisfied. Not in a new place. Not in this new life. Get out of the way! And Sara was pushed roughly into the corner of a building. She rubbed her shoulder, the lightweight jacket providing little padding from the sharp stonework, and then kept walking. When she first came to the City of Angels, the land of sunshine and opportunity, or so she thought, she brought with her the quick retorts that she had so effectively used back east. She had pictured herself as the edgy, tough, punk girl who wouldn't take any shit from anyone. But LA wasn't like home. Drugs, yes, but not the same. Even the sunlight was a sham. She never felt warm. Not once. LA streets were just as hard and cold as those in New York. Union Station, look, just tell me which way to go. Sara heard the desperation in her voice. That frightened her, more than the faces of the people who walked past her, not seeing her, not hearing her. She should know the way. She had been here long enough to learn how to navigate through the streets. But her brain just wasn't functioning right. Foggy, tired. That was it. She was tired. It had been a late night last night. Where did she sleep anyway? And maybe some bad stuff too, although now she couldn't even remember what she had taken. Couldn't have been anything too good. She didn't have much money. Turning tricks didn't pay as well as she thought it would. Or was it just her? Maybe she didn't appeal to them. Those button-down suit guys who took cabs, those plastic-faced would-be actors smiling, always smiling, just in case someone somewhere was looking for a face. Those hard-edged agents who took, but gave so little in return. People said New York was cold, but LA was colder. The appearance of warmth just a fake. It was cold like dry ice, burning when she touched it. And she had the scars to prove it. Sara rubbed her arm where the knife wound was slowly healing, although the edges of the cut were still flaming red. She should have gone to the clinic. They at least would have given her a shot and stitched her up before sending her to the cops as a vagrant. But one stay within those walls had been enough. Never again. So as I said, that is the story called Going Home. This story is unique in that it is the only time so far that I have written what could be considered a sequel or a companion to another story. In my first collection, Traveling Left of Center and Other Stories, I had a story called Waiting for Sara. The story was about a mother who never gave up hope that someday her daughter would return, even though she'd been gone for several years. even though the mother wasn't entirely sure where her daughter was, even though the mother was not sure if her daughter was still alive. So that was the story in Traveling Left of Center and Other Stories. And when I was putting together my collection for Peripheral Visions, I thought to myself, I want to know what happened to Sara. I want to tell Sara's story. You know, what made her leave her mother's house? Because when you read Waiting for Sara, it's quite clear that the mother loved her daughter. So why did her daughter leave? So what I did was take off my mother hat, put on my daughter hat, and think, what is happening to Sara now? Sara's across the country, that much we knew from the first story. So what is happening to her now? And is she ready to come back home? Does she want to come back home? Is she in a position to come back home? Will she live long enough to come back home? It's one of those stories that I tend to write that doesn't have a clear-cut ending. Yes, we all like happily ever after stories where it's all wrapped up very neatly. And you get to the end and you're like, oh, that's so nice that it ended up that way. But in this particular case, well, you'll have to read the story to find out. Does Sara make it to Union Station? Does she have enough money for a bus trip? Does she make it all the way back home, and is her mother happy to see her? Or will she remain forever in Los Angeles, trying to get back home but never quite making it? As I said, you will have to read the story, find out, and there are other stories also in Peripheral Visions. Not all of them that kind of a story, but I like to think they are all interesting stories. So I do hope you will pick up a copy of the book, read Going Home, read some of the other stories. If you find them interesting, intriguing, satisfying, the kind of stories that make you think about life, your own life, other people's lives, then let me know. Reach out to me, tell me what you thought. And in the meantime, I look forward to bringing you another story the next time we get together for story time. Thank you.